Now you have to be Kevin O. Laker. Oh, I love this. I love this. People think the Lakers are something that they have not shown themselves to be this year, right? Like that there's been a lot of games that have been played, and I had this feeling after watching Miami, Kevin, because I fall prey to this, where it's like, hey, man, it's Jimmy Buckets, it's Jimmy, it's Bam, it's Tyler Hero, it's Kyle Lowry. It's like, when push comes to shove. But, like, you forget, last season, they're the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They won more games than anybody, right? So it's not crazy that they went 7 games and went down to a shot with Boston. But this year, they told us all year long that they're an average-ass basketball team. And we just didn't want to believe it. Or some people believed it. But I just kept waiting for them. I mean, they couldn't even overtake Brooklyn after they got rid of friggin' Kevin Durant. And Ben Simmons wasn't even playing for them. And Mikal Bridges is their best player, and they're throwing together a whole new group. And so, I don't know. I got done watching that and be like, yeah, okay, Miami, they let everybody down. But like, they just played a whole season where they weren't very good.
Chris, ever since they started 2-10, they're 41-29, the 8th best record in the NBA.
The 8th best record.
Yeah, the 8th best record. Is that average? Then that's despite, LeBron and missing extensive time, despite AD missing extensive time. They tied with the Grizzlies for the best record in the NBA ever since the trade deadline. And you could say, like, yes, they faced some weak opponents. Yeah, sure, whatever. But they've been much better than average ever since they started 2-10. And that's despite guys being out. And the roster now is so much more complete. They have one of the best defenses in all of basketball at this point.
I mean,
So how are they average?
Because we just saw them play in a do or die game that they had to win against the Clippers without Paul George, and they couldn't beat them. We just saw them play in a do or die game against Minnesota without Jaden McDaniels, without Rudy Gobert, without Anthony Edwards, for that matter. And they went to overtime with them. When is the time that you've been blown away? Where you've gone, my God. Is there a time? Is there a game that I didn't see?
It's an aggregate, Chris. It's about the improvement over the course of time. You can't look at
you thought, wow. Just once. You don't have to look it up. Just one time that you left and you said, wow.
Isn't it, Chris? It's LeBron being 38 years old, scoring 40 points. It's AD switching on defense and dominating inside the paint. It's Austin Reeves being a secondary scoring presence. It's like, it's not any one individual game. Of course, they've had some tough losses. They've had some great and important wins. I mean, I don't think it's I don't look at it through the same lens as you. I look at it as like, this team's been really good ever since the middle of November, despite all these things that have gone wrong for them this season, and the fact that their odds of even making the postseason were so slim, and yet they're here with the 7th seed with an opportunity to actually defeat the Grizzlies. And maybe you feel otherwise, but with the Lakers, man, I think right now with them, you can't look at one individual game, but I don't think looking at one individual game actually has all that meaning anyway. It's about what's happened over the duration of the entire season and the way their story has developed and how different the team is right now compared to what it was in November and December and January. It's a completely different roster.
Did we watch the same game the other night?
Of course we did.
You would admit that that's the most important game of the season.
Of course.
It's not even close. It doesn't even compare to the other 82. Doesn't
Absolutely.
even compare.
And I think,
and you walked away
you can
thinking
look at that game.
That was impressive.
No,
Now, that's a team that's trouble.
I never said it was impressive. I never said it was impressive. It was, I talked to this with Bill Simmons on his podcast Tuesday night. LeBron had some embarrassing defense in the first quarter. There's things that happen within that game and over the course of the season that you look at, and it's like, oh, well, maybe they won't be able to flip a switch in the playoffs. LeBron taking plays off in the biggest game of the season on defense, aside from taking the charge on Cat. Like, there's issues. There's inconsistencies with their shooters. Malik Beasley, sometimes he's red hot from three. Sometimes he's going 0 for 10. Like, they have issues. In that game, they shoot 32% from three. It's one of those off nights for them. Like, there are concerns for the Lakers. There are by no means a perfect team, but there is no perfect team in the Western Conference. I could just as well look at the Grizzlies, as we've been talking about, and saying, well, right now they just really have Jaren Jackson Jr. right now at the 5. Like, they don't have Steven Adams. They don't have Brandon Clark. There's issues with Memphis. There's issues up and down the rosters in the Western Conference.
They were also 35-6 at home, Kevin.
Okay, great, cool.
Like, there are a ton of games, and I know you didn't watch any of them, but if you would have, where you would have walked away wildly impressed,
and
you would have gone,
16-25 on the road, 16-25 on the road as well, right?
And they also just had the best record in the last month, and their coach won Coach of the Month.
They're gonna fly across the country to LA so Jock can party for his 4 days in LA, right?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they're really worried about that at this point. I think he's gotten his comeuppance.
Oh, yeah?
I don't think you got to worry about that. The shoe's going to be coming out at playoff time. you got worry. Those Nike officials probably going to be staying in his room.
Yeah, just
make sure everything's on the up and up. Don't worry about it.
So wait a minute, Chris. Like, the way you talk about the Lakers, like, what's your prediction for this series? How far do you see this going? Does it go 5? Does it go 6?
I will say this. The farther it goes certainly favors the Grizzlies because of the way the schedule broke. At the beginning, there's a lot of rest. Because
for Steven Adams returning? Why is that?
No, because of the way, if you look at 5, 6, 7, it turns into an every other day thing.
Yeah.
And their best player is 38 and plays 45 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And their second best player goes down in a heap 3 times in a game, and everybody holds their breath. So playing every other day favors the young legs. There's no way around that. Oh, sure. Certainly concerned with the Davis thing. They played against each other a couple weeks ago. He had like 30 and 22. I mean, likewise, they played another couple weeks ago, and John Moran had 29 points in a quarter against them. So, and then we had that Shannon Sharp game, which was a 1-point game. And so I do think that the longer it goes, it will favor the younger team. And I never in a million years thought that you could have the best record in the league and be the number 2 seed in the West and somehow be the team that very few people are picking. But them getting to do the nobody believes in us, just like the Kings are getting to do, is an advantageous position to be in. It's much better than having expectations. I've always been uncomfortable with the expectations thing.
Yeah.
Because while you were effusively praising Oklahoma City last night, just amazing that they could be the 10 seed. Sure. And, young teams like that, they usually stink, I think is what the tweet said.
Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Yeah, they do. And I thought to myself as I was reading that tweet, my God, wait till he finds out who the second youngest team in the league is. He's going to have a full-blown erection. He just doesn't know. He doesn't know who the second youngest team is. Amazing. To win a game and be a 10 seed as a young team, unbelievable. Imagine if the youngest team took the reigning champions to 6 games in the second round of the playoffs. Oh my God. Can you imagine the tweet? It would
is
just
amazing. We talked about it on the
amazing.
freaking podcast. How
You
amazing it
never
is.
said one praiseworthy thing.
Yes, I have.
It's
What are you
been, I
talking
can't
about?
wait to watch them lose. Now you have to be Kevin O. Laker. Oh, I love this. I love this. A guy that grew up probably saying F the Lakers, F LeBron. Now you have to do it all just so I don't win.
It's gonna be.
I know you've got Lakers in 4.
No, I got Lakers in 6.
Oh, 6.
Yeah,
Good.
6,
I hope
yeah.
you go to game 6.
I hope I do too. That'd be
Yeah, you
great.
should go over. Just drive over to Crypto. You can watch it.